Like,
Sorry.
yeah, that's good, Mark, because I asked Kyle and Allison to see if they could get the recording from you.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So you don't want to be too cozy. You don't want to fall asleep. So, okay. All right. So we'll just start out like settling things down. So, and getting present, getting present, bringing your mind into the present moment's always such a weird thing to say because it's like a singular thing, but it's constantly moving. So just stay with what is right now as that now changes from like 65 fingers, 65 times a second, you know? So I probably shouldn't have said that, but anyway, just let your mind be open and free. Like hear the sounds that are around you. Smell the smells that you can smell. Feel the um, air against your skin. Feel your clothes against your skin. Your mind completely receptive to everything that your senses are perceiving. Try not to let your mind catch on anything. Just let it be open to the things as they change around you. And then focus on your body. Keep a soft awareness of what's going on around your body. And then, the sounds and the smells and all that stuff that's outside of your body. And then, but focus your attention on your whole body. There's parts of your body that feel good, the parts that, if there's any discomfort, what those are. But scan through your whole body. Soft awareness of what's outside. And then narrow your focus to the movements in your body that are connected to your breath. The subtle and the obvious, so as the breath moves out and in, feel the movements in your body that are connected to the breath. Keep a soft awareness of everything else. Attention on the movements, awareness of everything else. And then further narrow your attention to the sensations that the air moving past the edges of your nostrils make as you breathe out and breathe in. Keep a soft awareness of everything else. And feel these sensations just at the edges of your nostril or the tip of your nose as you breathe out and breathe in. And counting an out breath and an in breath as one, see if you can keep your attention there for 10 breaths. If your mind wanders, when you realize that it's wandered, bring it back to those sensations and start your count over again. Okay, and then we're gonna do a visualization where you clear out everything on the inside of your body. And you so start at the crown of your head and move down through your body, replacing all the tissue, the hard and soft tissue, your bones and organs and muscle and veins and everything, like replace that with blue light so that as you move down through your body becomes full of blue light, and your skin is just a thin membrane that's holding that blue light body. And move down through all the different, get everything cleared out, your ears through, and move down through your body all the way out to your fingertips, all the way down to the bottoms of your feet and your toes. So take a couple minutes to do that. And then run your scan back down through, make sure you got everything out of there. And transformed it into this blue sky light body, like blue like the sky. And then within that blue light body, just in front of where your spine used to be, visualize a red luminous tube, like about the size of a like a large straw, like a um, yeah, like, and it goes from your pelvic floor all the way up through the center of your body to the crown of your head. It's a hollow, luminous tube. And at the crown of your head, it curves and follows the inside of where your skull was and comes down. And it looks kind of like a shepherd's crook, and it comes down, it has a little, the end of it ends at between your eyebrows, about an inch inside your skin. And then inside the tube, at the level where your heart was, your heart center, visualize a rose. A beautiful rose. And as you breathe, see that the petals on the rose move with your breath. And that's inside the tube at your heart center. The rose represents your compassion, your love for other beings. And then shift your attention to the opening of the tube between inside your head and between your eyebrows, your third eye center there. And visualize there a small diamond, right adamantine, a diamond, a small, beautiful diamond. And once you have that in your mind's eye, use your breath to draw it into the tube, up to the crown of your head. And then as you exhale, bring it down the tube to the rose at your heart and nestle the diamond there. The diamond represents wisdom. The diamond and the rose together represent bodhicitta. So sit with that for a minute. Okay, and so then from the bottoms of your feet and the top of your head, dissolve your being, your body into emptiness, right? All the associations of your mind are only that. So the visualization for this is the dissolution of your body. So let go of the blue light body, dissolve the luminous tube down from the top of your head and from your pelvic floor up till they come to the rose. Dissolve the rose. All that's left is the diamond. And dissolve that down too. Sit in that space until your awareness of breath arises again. And breathe into your body. Breathe into your whole body. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. So there's a mantra that goes with that meditation. I was a little shy about just moving into chanting it at the end, but it's the mantra Om Mani Padme Hum. So it's the mantra of compassion. Mani is a jewel. Padme is a lotus, right? So the jewel and the lotus. For Westerners, we use the rose because it's something that we can visualize more easily, most of us, than a lotus. So the jewel in the lotus or the jewel in the rose, is the representation of compassion. All right. So what do you think it is about those two things together that is bodhicitta? What's the relationship between wisdom and compassion?
You're muted, Shirley, if you're talking. Sorry, I muted everybody because there's a little noise. I didn't know who it was.
It's probably the cars outside.
In the meditation.
Yeah.
The wisdom is that's the foundation, and the compassion is to have that understanding and want it to be for everyone is the
Yeah.
is the that's the two parts to it that form and make it solid. I don't know if solid is a word that means anything to anybody else, but it does to
me. Cool. Anybody want to add anything to that?
I like the wisdom to know, like, by you being compassionate towards others, you're compassionate towards yourself and like all beings. It's like all tied in. Like those acts of kindness and compassion.
Yeah. Nice. Like it. In one way that was taught about it is that they're the two wings of the bird, right? Compassion is method, and wisdom is the mental component. Method and wisdom, and those two things go together. They're unified in the body, right? As to become a vehicle that is moving towards freedom, right? So, if we have wisdom, if we know that things are empty of nature of their own, then our actions in the world are what creates the reality that we experience. How we think, how we speak, how we act towards others creates. So how do we create a mandala? Right? With wisdom and compassion, the two come together. So, right? So the wisdom supports the compassion. A wise being can be nothing other than compassionate.
Can you just explain what mandala is?
The mandala is the world where nobody suffers anymore. The universe. Okay. Freedom for all beings. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. So we're doing these vows, right? And because you know, for me, I need them because I'm not that wise yet. So so I use the vows as my guides, you know, and like my mind is like, you know, trying to figure out what to do. So I thought I would go through the 18 vows like the way they're written in our books, right? In our 6 Time a Day book, because they really break out to almost 30 vows when you break them apart. So, you know, so you'll get a little book like this. I don't know if you can see it, but it has your cheat sheet for your vows, you know, and you can, you know, cycle through it. It's handy because it fits in your pocket. So, and my, you know, the way they're set up, like mine is set up, it's got the vows, the 10 virtues listed, and then it's got the bodhisattva vows. It also has, for me, for mine, it has the refuge commitments too. And then I also have other vows, so it has all of that. But this is what you guys will get for now. So, right, the first vow is praising ourselves and criticizing others, right? So that breaks into 2 vows. Praising ourselves for personal gain, and I'm just going to quickly go through these because today we're talking about the 4 chains. Like, how do you break a vow, right? So, praising ourselves for personal gain, criticizing others for personal gain. That's 1 vow broken into 2. These next 2 are also 1 vow broken into 2. Failing to give the Dharma out of possessiveness, or failing to give material assistance out of possessiveness. The next vow, the next 2 are also, you know, in our 18 vows, they're considered 1, but in our book, it's broken into 2 vows. Failing to accept an apology or striking another person. Giving up the next one is giving up the greater way by saying that the scriptures of this way were not spoken by the Buddha. The greater way being the Mahayana, the Bodhisattva track. Okay. Laura, if you have questions about this stuff, you know, catch up with somebody. All right.
Yep.
That's another way that you could catch up is one of these guys could teach you the classes that we did already. And that would be good for them too, you know, if somebody has time for that and wants to. And these go together. There's 3 of them. Oh, no, this, I'm sorry, I jumped ahead. Okay, then the next one is teaching false dharma. So that those 2 also go together, giving up the greater way or teaching false dharma. Right, so that takes some explanation. The next 3, as written in the book, are one vow in the 18. Stealing what belongs to the Buddha jewel, and then stealing what belongs to the Dharma jewel, and then stealing what belongs to the Sangha jewel, right? Number 34, giving up the highest Dharma by discounting the scriptural collections of the listeners. That also takes some explanation. That would be good for somebody to work with Lauren on this. Giving up the highest Dharma by discounting the scriptural collections of the self-made Buddhas. giving up the highest dharma by discounting the scriptural. Yeah, good. By discounting the scriptural collections of the greater way. Right. So those sound similar to another one. And so that also requires a little bit of explanation. Taking away the golden robes, beating or incarcerating an ordained person. So some of these are going to be hard to break. Well, just because of, you're not running into too many anyway, people in robes. Removing someone from the status of an ordained person, committing the immediate misdeed of killing one's. So these next 5 are one vow of the 18. Committing the immediate misdeed of killing one's father, committing the immediate misdeed of killing one's mother, committing the immediate misdeed of killing an enemy destroyer, which is an arhat, somebody who's seen emptiness, right? Has reached at least nirvana. Committing the immediate misdeed of creating a schism in the Sangha, that's one of the 5. Committing the immediate misdeed of drawing blood from a Buddha with evil intent. And then this next one is vow number 9, holding wrong worldviews. We'll talk more about that in a little while. Okay. Then 45, 46, and 47, and 48 are all one vow: destroying towns, destroying cities, destroying whole areas, and destroying entire countries. And then teaching emptiness to a person who's not yet mentally prepared, that's one vow. Causing a person to turn back from total enlightenment. Right, so that's causing a person to let go of the Mahayana, the greater way. Causing a person to give up the morality of freedom. That's a Hinayana track. Holding that a person cannot eliminate desire in the rest by following the way of the listener. Right. Criticizing someone else due to one's desire for the adulation of others, similar to the first vow, but a little different. 54, professing the complete opposite by saying that we have seen emptiness directly when we haven't. Right. 55, accepting what belongs to the jewels, to the Sangha, or to an individual monk or nun when someone presents it to us. Rejecting the practice of quietude by favoring spiritual intellectuals over meditators. And then the last vow, giving up the wish for enlightenment. Okay. So you could see, like, these are really specific, and they're just because of their specificity, they're hard to break, So the way we do them in our book is we make like the way I do it anyway, and the way we're encouraged to do it is make associations. So, like, what does it make you think of? Like, what's a thing that you might do or think or say that is related to the vow, right? So, like, you're not going to beat a monk, but like, probably, none of us are going to, but what are seeds that you might be planting in your mind that might lead you to do it in a different circumstance? Maybe you've got certain attitudes about religion or, from whatever, nuns or, priests or whatever, so, like, work with that. Right. But they're very specific. And then today we're going to talk about what it takes to break a vow, and it's hard to break it, and you've got to have evil intent, so but you can also get pretty darn close just by not paying attention sometime, so maybe you have certain habits of behaviors that you've had over your life, and you know it can wake you up to pay attention, pay more attention. And, this is all about transforming ourselves now. So the 4 chains are, the first one is not to consider, that you'd be willing to, commit that wrong deed again. That's the first one. And actually how they're numbered is kind of important for understanding, like, degrees of breaking vows. All right. So the first one is you're willing to commit the deed again. The second one is that you don't have any shame or consideration for what you've done. So what that means is shame is that feeling shame about something is your own idea about yourself and the action that you took, right? Feeling bad inside because you did something that hurt somebody or something, right? It's an internal thing. It's personal, right? So the second chain is not having that when you do something, right? The consideration thing is also like not caring what anybody else thinks about it, right? Shame and consideration. Shame is personal and consideration is other. You don't care what anybody thinks about it, about what you've done. You don't have either of those. Right? And then the third one is that you're happy you did it. Yeah, that felt good, right? And you're satisfied about it, you enjoyed it. All right, so that's the third chain, right? First one is you'd be willing to do it again. Second one, without shame or consideration. Third one is you enjoyed it. And the fourth one is that that you don't think it was wrong. It was the right thing to do. All right. So when you go through that list of vows, and you look at those and you're like, wow, to break a vow, to fully break a vow, you'd have to have those 4 chains in place. Like, you got to be, it's tough to do. You got to be in a nasty place to break them, So, now, and you don't want to break them if you're, serious about your Dharma practice, because if you do fully break a vow, you can take the vows again so that you like reestablish them in your life, and you reestablish the intention, and you keep yourself moving in a direction. You keep the vows that way. You keep them. It's a neat thing about the vows is that if you keep them in this life, they go with you to your next life. You keep them. It's one of the only things that you can keep from one life to the next. Nothing else do you keep other than your karmas. Yeah, Mark.
I'm curious, is that the 4 chains, they seem to correlate very closely with the 4 powers, or the 4 steps, 4 steps of, creating good deeds, for example. Like maybe all but the second one, but I could even maybe or
Oh,
like making a plan,
yeah.
doing it, or find someone else that wants the thing, making a plan to do it, and like the rejoicing bit, seems like,
Being satisfied.
yeah, being happy that you did it. Like they seem to correlate the opposites of those, right? Some, I mean, more or less.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not reading that as a complete like that, but that's a cool, that's a
Like, is it tied in with that, right? Because like that's what creates really powerful good deeds, right?
true that. Yeah.
Those states of mind that goes along with those actions. So is this kind of those states of mind being the
Yeah.
opposite for bad deeds or something like that? Is it similar?
Yeah.
I was just curious if you ever.
That's interesting. Yeah. I'd never, heard that or made that association myself, but that's cool.
I'm just curious if
Yeah.
you ever heard that
I
or
hadn't.
read
No.
anything on that. Yeah.
No, I like that though. Yeah. I'd never heard them put together that way.
Because to me, I guess to me that to break a vow, meaning these are like negative deeds, right? I mean, these things that we're breaking, like those states of mind need to be present for like a karma marga, right? Isn't that what it is? When those four
A full breaking.
full breaking, but
Call it a major break
a major
of a
break,
vow.
or a major creation of a vow has those same four elements or similar.
Right. Right. Do you guys all know those four? How to create a karma? Like, think about what you want. That's the first step, right? Then find somebody else that wants that too and help them and make a plan to help them do it. And then carry that out is the third step. And the fourth step is to rejoice uh, and dedicate that action to the specific thing that you want. It can be
That's
anything.
how you get your wings.
What's that?
That's how you get your wings, by doing all this.
Yeah, well, that's using your wings.
Right?
Yeah.
Using your wings, right?
Yeah. All right. Nice whatever, segue or whatever.
Sorry.
And that's actually I'd like to segue from that too, because Mark, you point out like these vows are all about like the bodhisattva vows are supposed to be about gathering goodness, and they're all things that you're not supposed to do, right? So think about, and the way we think about the virtues too is, or the non-virtues, right? No killing. Well, we think about it as protecting life. So, like flip these on their head to really work on developing goodness, developing the goodness. So, if you're not going to destroy a town, but how could you help your town? How could you build community? How can you, you know, whatever, create the town you want to live in? You know what I mean?
Would you think it's enough just to avoid, like,
Destroying a town.
well, all the vows of, like, failing to not to do this, failing to do this, like, uh, destroying, and these ones that are more like destroying, and like, it wouldn't be enough to really create the goodness to achieve enlightenment. Would it, just to merely go through and just avoid? Isn't it more about creating more so?
Well, I don't know. It's about purification.
Hmm, right.
So as you purify the seeds for these things,
Hmm.
the natural replacement for that is, you know, like you could really like fill up all your time with like, you know, bodhisattva activities, you know, and not really develop the wisdom side so much, maybe. So there is both. It's important to not like get too busy in the world and not have time to develop your wisdom, you know. Like meditation is a method. A powerful method. Remember the story of Shanti Deva, you know, all he did was meditate, and then he was the bodhisattva. Like, you know, then he went out and lived his life out of the wisdom that was born from his meditation. So, you know, don't get so busy that you don't have time to become more wise. And your busyness is going to tell you where you're lacking wisdom. Engagement in the world is what's going to show you where your spaces are, you know, the places that you need work on still. Like, you'll find your natural things that are hard for you, you know. Maybe you're impatient, or maybe you're stingy, or maybe you're grumpy a lot, you know. Whatever it is, you know, those are things to work on. They're mental afflictions. They're things that impact your happiness. All right, so those are the four chains. Now, those apply to 16 of the 18 vows. 2 of the vows you don't need the chains for. Which ones are those?
Wrong view is one of them, isn't it? Holding wrong views.
Yeah, so it's vow number 9, right? In the 18, holding wrong worldviews. And then the other one is which one? Did we talk about it? It's number 18. It's the last one. Giving up the wish. So you don't have to do those. You don't have to have the 4 chains. You just have to do those things, right? You have to just, like, in your heart for a minute, not even, not believe that there's any such thing as karma, or that a mind stream, or that, you know, that goes on, like the past and future lives, that kind of, you just, like, so if you have doubt about those things, it's okay, but don't right? Because you can't tell. You can't see, maybe. I mean, maybe you guys can. I don't know. I have trouble like seeing my past lives. I just can't see them, or my future ones. You know, someday. But you know, but the logic's there for me, and you know, my own awareness, inner awareness of how of energy in my body and what that creates and destroys. It makes sense to me that there's future lives, you know. So and I actually make choices based on that logical understanding. Who's that little fluffy white guy?
That's Tippy, the same one that you remember.
Really?
Yeah, 15 now.
That's good.
So I do have a question, Will, about that. The number 18 seems, that's not so worrisome to me. That
giving up the wish.
Yeah.
That's
But-
worrisome for you?
It's not so worrisome.
Yeah.
But the one that you're just talking about, 8, no, what did you say it was? 9. Right, it seems to me that's going to be tricky on where is the line between not believing it or not totally being there yet.
Yeah. Well, it's a conscious choice to say, you know what, this whole thing about karma is a bunch of hogwash. You
Yeah.
know, that's different than like, you know, yelling at your husband and forgetting that you're throwing a wrench into your future. You know?
Right.
That's different. That's
Right.
not giving it up. That's just not being mindful. All right. That's so you've got to like, you know, you got to be like this Dharma stuff. It's a fairy tale, man. I don't, you know, you got to like be in
Okay.
that kind of a place where you just give it up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. So then having times when you feel like you don't always understand it
Mhm.
is
That's
Um,
okay.
that's okay. That's
Join,
good.
join
Yeah.
the crowd. You know. But you know, like don't so I can think of a circumstance where one might, you know, you could be like so dedicated to like doing good things, planting good seeds, doing the 4 powers, you know, doing the 4 powers to, you know, create this idyllic life for yourself, you know, and boom, something terrible happens, you know, boom, right? And it doesn't mean terrible things don't happen anymore. You know, it just gives you tools for to deal with it. And you know, life can be tough. You know, so uh, yeah. Like I had something happen in my life that was very difficult, and it just really messed my mind up. Quite. It was so confusing, right? I couldn't. And I would go, oh my gosh, I don't even know what karma means. But I'm really looking forward to the day that I do again, you know, till my mind stabilizes enough that I know what this stuff is. Like I never gave it up. I never said, well, if, you know, you know, if karma was real, this crappy thing wouldn't have happened to me. You know, so don't get caught in a pipe dream. All right. You know. All right. Okay. So now we got to talk about a couple other things. So a major break of a root downfall is to do it with all 4 chains in place. That's a major break. That does stop the ability for you to see emptiness in this life with bodhicitta. They don't say that you can't see emptiness, but that you won't have bodhicitta when you do. Right? You won't enter the first bhumi of the bodhis. So those bodhisattva levels that I mentioned before, you the first level is when you see emptiness directly. And then you start to go up through the 6 perfections. And you see emptiness directly, that diamond is in your heart. It's there. You can't, it won't go away. You're compelled to act well towards others because you know how stupid it would be to not do that. right? So why did I say that? Talking. Oh, so you wouldn't be able to do that if you had the 4 chains in place. All right, you wouldn't have bodhicitta. When if you did come to, you could reach nirvana, but not bodhicitta. I think. I'm not sure about that, but it seems specific to say, the reading says, you won't see emptiness. You won't enter the first bhumi. You won't see emptiness imbued with bodhicitta. All right. So then there's what's called a medium breaking of the vow. And that is if you have just the 4th chain in place, or the 4th with any 2 or 1 of the others, but the 4th one in place, right? Where you don't consider it to be a wrong deed. You think it's fine that you did it. It was the right thing to do. If you just have that chain and break in place, it's a medium breaking of the vow. And then the first 3, right? If you have any 1, 2, or 3 of the other ones, but not the last one, if you just have some idea that it was wrong that I did that, but I would do it again. In that circumstance, I'd do it again. Then that's a lesser breaking of the vow. So there's the major, medium, and lesser breaking of vows. If you do a major break, the only way to restore it is by taking the vows over again. And if you do a medium breaking of the vow, you're supposed to confess it to 3 or more people in order to clean it up and reestablish the vow for yourself. And if it's a lesser breaking of the vow, confess it to 1 person. So it's good to have a Dharma buddy that you can do that with. I mean, within the Sangha, like if you're a monk, you do it twice a month. Every 2 weeks, you clean up your vows. You get up with one of your friends. It doesn't have to be a monk or anything. Just get up with one of your friends and say, listen, go back through your book and say, oh yeah, I really I did break this one. You can go through the book and just talk about the things that you did but you need to have a trusted friend that you can do that with. Okay. That's a good thing to have too. And that helps with the whole, like somebody that's not going to judge you, like, shame you for it or something. Yeah, Mark.
I just asked a question about the major break. Well, the idea that you can't, you can't have the direct perception of emptiness with bodhicitta, right?
Yeah.
You can't enter the first
In
bhumi.
this life, yeah.
Like, what is it about that makes that a law? Like, is it that karma is that strong? Even like, let's just say you had a bad week or something, and you had really screwed up, like you know what I mean? And then the following week, you're like, oh man, that was just crazy, But like the rest of your life, you lived not ever doing that again. But you know what I mean? Like, why would that be so strong and so much of a firm point that, and what does it involve? Like, how long time? Is it just 10 minutes of having all 4 of those steps? Or is it like a day?
Yeah, that's a question. Like what it says in the reading, like check out the reading because it answers this question.
Okay.
And it says that from the moment you decide to carry out the deed, if you maintain the 4 chains through that whole time and the carrying out of the deed, you're done with it. You break the 4th chain. You're happy about it. You're like, yeah,
But then what
Right.
about an hour later?
So a
you regret?
week later, an hour later, you're like, damn, I shouldn't have done that.
Too late?
I'm not sure. I'll find out
I'm
because
just
that's a
curious.
good question.
Shame is not something that happens. To me, shame is when you realize what you did. So that it almost has to be later, right? Like you can't have an immediate.
Yeah, true. I think that's true, Mark. I think that if it's later and you feel shame, I think that's right. Surely,
Would that still have to maybe live in your mind during the direct perception of emptiness about that vow, and then that would prevent you? You know what I'm saying? Like, let's just say
what's the mechanism that breaks that capacity?
yeah, but like it would seem like you would have to hold that breaking of that vow would still have to be present in the mind. You feeling good about breaking that vow, almost thinking that it was didn't think it was wrong, and you had direct perception of emptiness in that moment. Then, or later down the road, but you never repaired that vow in your own mind. You still thought it was the right thing to do, right? Like I feel like, well, like if you repaired that and then you had direct perception of emptiness, it would seem
Yeah.
like you could.
I mean, just the reparation, just wanting to repair it, wanting to retake the vows, I think you'd have to have some shame or consideration for having done
Right.
the thing that broke the vow. So how much later is okay? I don't know. It's a
Yeah.
good question, because I'll find out. I'll find out.
Cool. Yeah. Now I think about it, maybe it feels
I have, I'll ask somebody that will know.
okay.
I have a question also about the confession part of this. Because we've been doing Sojung on the new moon.
Yeah.
And it came up in our conversation with this too. This wasn't about the Bodhisattva vows, though. This was just about the general, the 10 freedom vows. What if, and I don't know how this plays out with
You
this.
guys do that with your group?
With Val's group.
Yeah.
Yeah. We just started. It just started, like, we've only done it twice.
Okay.
But the question is, so of course we've all been going way back in our past, right? Because we're trying to clean it all up. So we're doing the biggies. But so there's a question like, well, if you lied, let's say, which is breaking one of the vows, but you still kind of feel justified for it, and you'd probably do it again, but you confessed it because we're not supposed to lie. Is that a true cleanse or confession? Since,
yeah.
like, looking at this, we didn't really think it was, we know it's wrong. Yeah.
It could be if the lie was done with wisdom. Like there is a caveat. Trying to think where it is in the vows. That you can break a vow of body or speech if you maintain wisdom. You have to have good wisdom in order to do that. So there's no mental affliction attached to it. You're actually breaking the vow of body or speech to bring somebody along. It's an act of kindness.
Right.
So, but you have to have the wisdom to know that that's what you're doing.
Right. Get to think about that one.
Yeah. Otherwise, it's with the freedom vows, you're working on it,
Yeah.
Some of those freedom vows, I think I would need a frontal lobotomy to like free myself. It used to be that way anyway. I haven't really thought about it that way, but I used to really think, man, I need a frontal lobotomy to get rid of that mental affliction. Like, it's just there. It seems like it's part of my hard wiring,
Right.
So
right.
Yeah. Yeah. So keep working on it. That's what the 6 Time a Day book does. It's so cool because you'll look back in a couple of years and you go, wow, I don't need that frontal lobotomy anymore. Yeah. I kept doing that darn vow. You could even, you could even put it up on you could have it in there every day. You could have like, this is my special everyday vow, because I
Right.
really am struggling with it. Okay.
Good, thanks.
All right. All right. So, all right. Okay. So we went through that, right? I'm going through the homeworks for you. which I find I don't always do in these classes. So hopefully I have been this course. All right. There's so I just want to go over the 4 bases for cleaning up a karma. The 4 forces, right? So when and you can apply this to any of the vows, any of the virtues. Yeah, and it's how we do our book. So when you do your book, you do a plus and a minus, like what was the thing that you was a breaking of or a moving towards, like a negative, something that you'd like to purify. So the first thing is, okay, yeah, protecting life. Right. So what did you do to protect life? Well, I was really thorough with my recycling this week. And, what was the negative that you did? I drove too fast today going to Ruby's lacrosse game, and then like that endangered people, so one, I think about, one is called the first one, and I forget these, so I'm reading it. Basis force, and that's grounding in the, like, remembering that remembering the Dharma, basically, like taking refuge. It's like, oh yeah, my actions have consequences, like remembering that. And then the second one is destruction force. So they call that the intelligent regret of a well-informed Buddhist, of a wise being, the intelligent regret. So it's not like, oh my God, I'm such a terrible person, like, that's not intelligent regret. It's like, shit, I just threw a wrench into my future, my life will be put at risk by some jerk driving to, doing something that is dangerous, And so feeling regret, like, feel that, like, whoa, and then the restraint force is like, okay, I'm not going to do that. And like, you need to like do that in a way that you can actually do it. Right. So tomorrow I'm going to drive the speed limit when I drive, even if I think it's silly. Why do they have me going 25 miles an hour rate? Like that. You just have to do it. Okay. But something that you can do, because then, like, by Tuesday, I probably won't remember that, honestly, and I'll be late for something and maybe drive too fast again. And maybe I won't, but I'm not going to commit to Tuesday at this point, right? So that's the restraint force. Restraining from. And then the fourth one is your antidote. Like, what's the positive thing I'm going to do? All right. So they can be the same. The restraint can also be, but, don't be mealy mouth about it. Like, think about it. The best antidote, of course, is to meditate on emptiness. That's what they say. That's right, like deep in your understanding of where things come from. That diamond in the rose, right? And then you'll be compelled to drive this. I'll be compelled to drive the speed limit every day. And that underlying anxiety that is part of my fabric of my being will be gone. But see, recognizing that is really what gets rid of the mental affliction. What's the underlying energy that fuels that? Okay. Basis force, right? That's the first one. Remembering that karma matters, right? They say taking refuge, which really is just recognizing that things are empty of nature. Like, oh yeah. And then regret. Think about the thing that you did and what that's going to do for your own future. Like, what does that mean for me if I, and feel the weight of that and then make choices about stopping to do it. And then what's a good antidote for that, right? Okay, so then the last thing that we're going to talk about tonight is ways that you can lose your vows. What do they say? Yeah, lose your bodhisattva vows. Right, so you can give them up by holding wrong worldview, right, which we talked about. The second, there's three things, and I think there's actually four. You can give up the wish. You can actually consciously go to somebody and say, listen, I want to give up my vows. I don't want the vows anymore. That's breaking them. It's giving them up. It's saying, I give up. Right? I'd rather live with the way I am than be a person who's living for the benefit of all other living beings. So it's a tough karma to give yourself. And then you could break a vow by with the 4 chains in place, right? So those are all ways to lose your vows. And you can retake your vows. That's a beautiful thing about the vows, is that you can retake them. So even if you do a lesser breaking of the vow, right, and you clean it up with confession and stuff, after a while, your vows start to look like an old car. It gets beat up and stuff, and it needs a good waxing. So you take it in and retake those vows, and it's like going to the detailing shop and getting things buffed up, right? It's good to do from time to time. You can do it every day if you want. Okay. All right, so the meditation for the assignment is to meditate on the 4 chains. And I don't know if there's other details about it, but you can look on the homework and see. And you can do that visualization too. Sometimes the first time you do something, it's a little rough around the edges, so you can work on getting more clear with that. It'll help you with your concentration and your skill, your meditation skill. Okay. Any questions? Okay. Mark, will you do us up? Take us out of here.
Gewa.
Well, first the mandala and then the Gewadi.
Okay, right.
Yeah. Please. Thank you.
Can you all see that?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Sashi Puki
Shin me tokram Virabalinchi Idam Guru Ratnam Mandalakam Niyatayam
Gewadi
Kyo
Sanam
Shin Kunito Parsha. Okay, you guys, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Lovely.
Have a good week.
Yeah,
All right. You too.
All right.
All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye.